Hello, beautiful people. Thanks for showing up. I'm very excited today because I have a special guest. Susan Clarke from the United Kingdom is here with me, and it's going to be a really powerful conversation about, well, there's a lot of things hidden in plain sight that people don't want to see, and we're going to talk about that today. So if you're watching, please give StreamYard permission to use your name. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and like this, because we like you. That's why we're here. If you have questions, let us know, because we want to support you on your journey. And we know that the vegan path sometimes is bumpy and we get stuck. So we're here to answer questions and to be of support. Susan's got a lot of wisdom on her path, and she's an educator. She's out there and she's working the streets. And so we're going to learn from her today. So welcome, Susan. Tell the listeners about you and your journey.
Hi. Yes, thank you. Yes, Susan Clarke. I live in the UK, in the south of England. I've had a bumpy journey, like the rest of us. I like to think of myself as I'm just a mum. I'm just a normal mum that's had a normal life, that has come to this too late in life, like most of us feel when we realise when we see what's happened. We wish we'd learnt sooner. And my journey is, I should have learnt sooner, because I was a cookery teacher. So food is my subject. I taught children that you get protein from meat and you get calcium from milk, and how did that ever happen, and how did I not learn? And I always thought I was an animal lover. I never took my children to zoos, even though the rest of the class went. My kids knew that we had to be kind and compassionate towards animals. So they had pets because I wanted them to encourage them to be kind to animals. How did I not connect? But I didn't until about 5 years ago. And I guess my journey is much like everyone else's. Something triggers you. Usually it's watching a documentary, which is why I think the documentaries are so important to encourage people to move towards, because however much anyone tells you, the documentaries just show that it actually happens. And I first heard Gary Yourofsky was the first person that I heard, and I was just mesmerized when I heard his speech. The best speech you'll ever hear. It really was the best speech I ever heard. And you don't believe it at first. You think no, this is just some quirky guy that must, he's made it up. And then you watch something else and that says the same thing. And I think I watched about 3 documentaries, and I got it then. I was adamant, I'm vegan. I'm never ever going to touch anything. It was quite quick. The transition was quite quick for me. My husband said I was exaggerating. He wouldn't join me, which is really frustrating, because it really hurts when your loved ones don't feel the same compassion, empathy that you feel, and that's been a difficult journey for me. My family, my children are 25 and 30, who are not vegan yet. My daughter's nearly there, but and the rest of my family, and obviously as soon as I found out, I wanted to tell them, because I love them, and I want them to know that I want you to be kind to animals too, and I want you to know it's bad for your health. I want to protect your environment. I want to look after you all. That's why I want to tell you. And so you're really shocked that when you tell them what you know, they're all horrified, and they don't want to hear. They don't, you're spoiling the fun, you're spoiling the party. Shut up, you're being preachy, we don't want to know. And I found that really difficult, and I still find that quite difficult. And I basically, the first year of me going vegan, I was just traumatized by what I learned about the animals. Happened to live near a pig farm, so I sensed what was happening to the pigs. I went to bed. I didn't sleep. I just went to bed and saw the pigs in farrowing crates and all the horrors of the dairy industry. I went to visit a dairy farm because my husband said, "You're exaggerating. I'm going to show you." Well, that was really useful because obviously I went to the dairy farm and it was exactly as the movies. I think that helped my husband. And then he watched Dominion. I left him because I couldn't bear to watch it again. I left him watching Dominion and I went out for a few hours and I came back and he was vegan. I was pleased to say he was vegan. So that's been really great that I've now got my husband on side and we do it together. But I was very, very down about it. Going to the supermarket, just an absolute nightmare. I dreaded. That was the worst thing in my whole life, was having to go to the supermarket. And I guess you get to your low point, to my low point. Actually had a chat with Claire Mann that was really helpful. And because yes, we do get dystopia, and realize that I have to do something. The way that you deal with it, you can't change it. You've seen it, you can't unsee it. It's happening, it's true. So what do? You have to learn to deal with it. And if you deal with it by doing something to help the animals, then it's a positive. You're doing something worthwhile that's helping you, incidentally, but more important than that, it's helping the animals. And so I just started doing things. I joined vegan runners, which I found really great. You don't have that in the US, do you? Do you have vegan runners?
Vegan runners?
You don't have that?
I've never heard of that.
You need to set that up. You need to, Americans, you need to set up vegan runners. We have shirts that say vegan runners on the front and the back. And whether you walk 5K or whether you do an ultra marathon, you wear your shirt. And I only do little 5K runs, but I found that so empowering. It enabled me to go to the supermarket because I suppose that was the start of activism. I'm an activist because I'm not saying anything to anyone. I'm not confronting them. I'm not getting upset by the fact they don't seem to care as I want them to care. But they saw me looking fit. They saw me looking healthy. I did feel that people, if I was in a queue to pay and people had animal products in their shopping trolley, they would actually change aisles because they didn't want to be behind me. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I am making an impact. I haven't said anything. I don't think I've been aggressive, but I've sown a seed. I've made a connection. So then I became like one of these very trendy young women who go around in my lycra all the time, but I'm wearing my vegan runner's kit, whether I'm running or whether I'm not running, because it's empowering. And some people find the t-shirts help with that. You get t-shirts with logos on. That helps as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And stickers on your car. I mean, I have a sticker across the back of my car that says, "You have been lied to. Watch Dominion." Which is, I think they have to come from Australia, actually, these stickers. But I've been trying to encourage people to buy them because I want everyone in the UK to have these stickers on the back of their cars. And I just find that empowering because if I'm in a traffic jam, I know that people are looking. I see people on their phones Googling, what's that mean? Why have I been lied to? And I think that people react to that. They don't want to feel that they've been cheated or lied to. So I'm not shouting I'm a vegan. I'm just saying, you've been lied to, watch Dominion. And of course this is the hidden in plain sight thing, isn't it? That the truth is hidden from us. So that's empowering. And then I'm just a mum. I'm just an ordinary mum. So I can't be a street activist, can I? No, I can't be, because I don't do that sort of thing. But I did. I did. I went to a meeting of Voices for the Anonymous. because I felt lonely as well. I just felt I was a vegan all on my own. I didn't, apart from my husband, I didn't know anyone who was vegan, and I think we need other human beings, like all species. We're gregarious. We need others of our own species around us, and I felt I had to go on the streets to meet just to speak to another vegan, to see if they spoke the same language I did. And of course they did, which I found great. And also the masks of the Anonymous for the Voiceless, that I found that quite empowering, because I could hide. Well, I could hide behind it, and I could see how people were reacting, because they didn't look at me, they looked at the TV screen, and I saw their shock and their horror, but I couldn't react, but I had to rely on other people to speak to them. And my husband was horrified that I went out wearing black and putting a mask on, and because I'm just an ordinary mum, how could I possibly do such a thing? And I've joined the WTF group, which are another type of activist group. I'm going to a march on Sunday in London.
We the Free?
No, it's not We the Free. It's We the Free on Saturday. I'm doing. On Sunday, I'm going to. I've forgotten the name of it now. But it's a memorial where we carry, which all sounds quite bizarre, but we carry animals, and it's like a funeral service for the animals. It's just, I mean, that seems quite extreme for this ordinary mum to do. But I guess I'm still trying different things to see how I feel I work better. And I think that's it. We're all different, and we all have different talents, and it's whatever works for you, or whatever makes you feel that you're contributing. I'm a teacher, so obviously I do go into schools, and I teach about veganism through Animal Aid. Is Animal Aid in the US? Is it a US?
I'm not aware of Animal Aid in the US. But tell me, when you're teaching Animal Aid, what ages are you teaching to?
Well, I taught, in my profession, I taught 11 to 18-year-olds. So that's the only age group that I feel comfortable with. I was going to train to do the primary as well, but to be honest, I feel all you can teach to the little ones is kindness and compassion. Obviously I work within the framework of Animal Aid, so I can only say and do what they approve of. So little ones learn about compassion and kindness. If they raise the subject of factory farming, you're allowed to talk about it, but which they may do at sort of about 11. They may start connecting, and then, like you should do with children, you tell them the truth, not some fairy story about how they're all happy and play together and go to the seaside together. But I've since moved on, actually, that I feel that universities are the place to be, because I would like to empower students, really, student unions, and we have Animal Rebellion here. Do you have Animal Rebellion? No,
heard of that, no.
I thought maybe some of these groups are global, so learning curve for me. That they have a group that go into universities, and to encourage students. I'd like students marching on the street. That's what I'd like. I'd like every student from every university on the streets saying this is also wrong. We're not just, this is cruel to animals, this is killing our planet, this is bad for our health, pandemics, antibiotics, world starvation. I'd like them to connect more than anything. So that's the direction I'd like to go into in the future. But I'm a teacher, so that works. That works for me to go into schools. It doesn't necessarily work for others. I was also encouraged to do talks, which is perhaps why I'm here, but sort of like after dinner speeches. So I joined Toastmasters, which I know you do have in the US.
We have Toastmasters.
Yeah, and indeed, I believe you have vegan Toastmasters, don't you?
I've heard that we do have it. Yes.
Wow, it's just in some ways, I don't think I'd want it. I'd need it to be vegan, because part of me is, I mean, I'm an activist, so you know, I speak and I try to convert people. So I like it that I go to pre-vegan groups and I give my speeches and I hopefully create some awareness. I'll make them think. And the most I've done a few speeches now, but the best one, the one that gets received the best, and it's kind of it's a reflection on how it works to be an activist. It's a speech where I blame myself. You know, it's called The Hidden Truth, actually, but I say I didn't know that cows had to lose their babies for us to get milk. I didn't know that pigs lived in Fahrenheit. I didn't know that ducks didn't see water. I didn't know that fish lived in lice-infected water. But I do know now. But it's about me, so it's my fault. So I'm not pointing the finger. I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm because we've all come, you know, not many of us were born vegan. We've all come from a journey of learning. So I do feel that works generally with activism, as I talk about my own failings and the fact that I was a teacher and I taught food. You know, I'm like one of the worst people. Why did I not connect when I should have known better than most people? So and I think that then makes people feel better, feel less threatened.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, you get people come up to you in the street and say, "Oh, you'll hate me because I eat meat," and I say, "No, I used to do the same. It's just you haven't looked yet." And it's obviously all about education, isn't it? We have to somehow sow the seed to encourage them to learn and learn for themselves, because you can't tell anyone anything. You can only encourage them to learn for themselves and give them the tools to learn for themselves. Which is where my cards come in.
Oh yes, your cards. Yeah, tell me about what you were saying today happened.
Today. Today was a good day, because I went to the hairdressers and I obviously, you sit in the chair and they say, "Oh, what shampoo?" And I say, "Oh, well, actually, I'm vegan. Do you have any vegan shampoo? Otherwise, here's my shampoo." She did have some vegan shampoo, which was great. So, and I didn't say anything else. I didn't then go, "Oh, yes, and and it's really cruel to do this. And do you know about Fahrenheit?" I didn't go into any of that. Which, when I first went vegan, I needed to shock people. I just thought, if I metaphorically sit on your head and tell you about Fahrenheit and tell you about macerated chicks, you've got to listen to me because you have to, because it's so bad. And people used to run away, and I had to learn that that's not the way you do it. So I basically left it and stayed quiet. And she then asked me more questions, and it was great because she was a young girl. She was about 25, 28 years old, and she kept asking me more questions, which was so engaging. And then as I left, she said to me, thank you so much for that conversation and your card that you gave me." She said, you didn't threaten me. You weren't a pushy vegan." And I thought, wow, I am a pushy vegan, but I hid it so well. And I can't, if you're vegan, I don't know how you can't feel that pain inside and want to say to people, "You have to be vegan." But you can't do it that way. You have to be a psychologist. You have to learn how to be kind and gentle, and compassionate in your approach. Even to the abuser, you have to be kind and compassionate.
I know, it's like, what?
Yeah, and I think I've just had to learn it. You know, I've been doing this for 5 years now, so it's that if your strategy doesn't work, you have to change. And the strategy of being aggressive and pushing it down their throats does not work. I don't know anyone that would say that works. But it's education.
Right. Education. I was looking at the comments and let me show you this one here. Talking about what you were saying at the animal aid, the U.S. would lose its mind if something like this was brought up or allowed for discussion in school. Animal aid. I mean, that's back to hiding everything. You know, I mean, we got to hide everything over here, right? I mean, we got to be brainwashed, and that's what what we're going up against. You know, the brainwashing by the countries into thinking that we're not getting enough protein, that the animals are living, you know, I mean, humane death and all this stuff, and hiding everything. I mean, not making the connection.
I know. I've got nephews that both went to university in the US, and my eldest one that went to Yale actually came back and he said, "You won't believe it. In the US, they have this law called the ag-gag law," and it sounded absolutely horrendous to me. But actually, we're heading the same way in the UK. You know, we kind of we present ourselves as morally above every other country, and that we're doing everything right. And when I talk to people on the streets, they'll say, you know, if I talk about the farrowing crates or anything, oh, but that doesn't happen in the UK, does it? You know, or they're not, you know, that doesn't. But yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's hidden. It's hidden everywhere. But no, it's that's the biggest fight as well, is fighting the indoctrinated traditions that we have that are instilled in us, and they're so hard to break because, you know, we've been taught this all our lives, that this is what you do. You have to eat meat. You have to have your meat and 2 veg. And you have to get your protein. And you know, how many times do we get told, where do you get your protein from? Which no vegans ever died from protein deficiency.
Right.
But yeah, the conspiracy is difficult. I was quite surprised when I started working for Animal Aid. Actually, it was really another positive for me that I was again communicating with vegans and learning from them who've been doing it for a long time how I'm allowed to present. I mean, they're actually quite a well-funded organisation, so I've got amazing school resources. You know, I'm so old that I remember having to make my own visual aids, you know, and colour them in with my own felt pens. I've got leaflets on everything, anything, posters. I've got outfits I can wear. They give me food to take in, so I can, and I make them chilies, and they've got chocolate bars to give the kids. It's absolutely wonderful. The kids always love us going in because we're fresh and we're different. But no, the videos, we have videos that we show that are Animal Aid videos, and they have all the factory farm stuff in it. They've got the chickens, they've got dairy cows and what happens to the dairy cows. You know, on the same level as I would say dairy is scary. You have dairy is scary, do you?
Yes, we do have that.
That kind of presentation, which I was quite amazed at. And obviously it depends what subject it is. Sometimes you go into the food subjects, and then I'll perhaps make a chili and we'll chat around that. But you could go into geography to do about the environmental side, or you could get called into religious studies to talk about the ethics of animals, or personal social education, again, about the ethics. So, I mean, it basically, you can cover most of the curriculum with it, can't you? So, no, I found that really great that I was allowed to talk about that. And amazing that the staff know nothing. The kids are very receptive because they are not yet socially conditioned to be anything. Staff, I've yet to meet one that understands veganism. I think they just see us as a show that comes in, and then we'll go back to the way we behave after that, which is really that's really difficult. And it's also difficult for the kids when they do make a connection, that they then go home to parents that say, "Don't be ridiculous. Here's your chicken nuggets," and you know, or you have to have your milk. Don't be stupid. You need your calcium from your milk. So it's difficult, which is why I think university students would be a great target, because they they've first of all, they're starting to live on their own, and perhaps haven't thought about how to cook and what a meal consists of, and their minds are open still, but they have a voice. They have a voice. So I'd love the world to get all the students out on the streets. And you've had Earthling Ed Winters come around the universities in the US, haven't you, and talk to I know he's been to all the major universities, and he's doing that in Europe now as well. So I hope that's making a difference.
Yeah, and I love the way he talks. I mean, he's so able to not get angry. When they're joking about meeting, oh yeah, I can't live without my bacon, he still jokes because he knows it's so important to keep that rapport going. He's sucking it up, I'm sure. But still, he knows in order to communicate with the university students, and he's got to laugh with them. Oh yeah, how could we live without meat? Ha ha ha. But I really, commend him for that. And
he's great. He's a great debater, and I think you do more of that in the US perhaps than we do. And I thought it was really interesting when I watched him debating different American universities, different students, and I thought, you know what, we should learn from him how to debate anything. Because he's so calm, he's so gentle, he considers it from their point of view. But the most important thing is the message is so simple. And I think this with everything, we have to keep everything simple. It's just ethically wrong to do what we do to animals, full stop. And you can't argue against that. So his task is easy, really, isn't it? But it's often harder to be simple because it takes a talent to do that, and he's absolutely brilliant at debating. And I think his vegan propaganda book, should be GCSE syllabus material. It's well written. It presents the arguments. It teaches people how you present your argument.
Yeah, I mean, his energy is smooth. He's not getting rattled. He knows, and then he doesn't expect people to change. He goes in there. He knows that he's not looking for an outcome. His outcome is that they think of veganism in a more positive light. Like with your outcome with the hairdresser, right? That she went away with saying, wow, you're not a crazy, angry vegan or whatever, So that's the same outcome he wants, that they walk away seeing veganism as something positive and then that
normal.
Yes, you're right. And it's not a loss, but something, newness, because people are scared. What am I going to miss out on and everything? And if we can present it in a different light, and even acknowledge, I was scared I was going to miss out on that too. I had the same feelings as you. That really bridges the communication and builds rapport. And that's what we've got to do. Build these relationships. This is about relationship building. So it's interesting.
You have to see it from their point of view. You have to, and this is another lesson that I've had to learn through many years of debate. I'll put debate in inverted commas with my husband, because we're both vegan, but we argue. I'm very much I am a true vegan, and mine's animal based and ethically based, and whereas he's kind of, it's about the environment, really. If he's honest, he's plant based, really, and which I keep saying to him, you're plant based. But he keeps saying to me that you have to take the environment and health on board. And because I'm a food science teacher, I know the nutrition, but I didn't want to go there because I didn't want people to do it for themselves. I want the world to find compassion. I want this gentle kindness that where we all live a vegan lifestyle and the trees grow and we share vegetables amongst each other. The utopia. That's what I wanted, and I thought, well, I don't want people selfishly doing it for their health, and I don't want them doing it for the environment. And I've had to learn that actually, if people come to veganism in that way, then that's fine. The animals' lives are being saved, however they're doing it. And hopefully by doing the diet and realizing that it's actually great, that it's healthier, it's more fun, it's more interesting, you don't get that horrible uncomfortable feeling. Hopefully then they maybe watch a video that leads them on to something else. You know, even if you watch What the Health, it leads you onto the problems with the fish and other things. And of course the environment now is so big. I mean, it's people are finally starting to acknowledge that something's happening. And, you know, we've only got a few years basically before we reach 1.5 degrees and tipping point, and what's going to happen by 2030. And even the BBC reported on temperature rises up to into the 40s in the UK by 2030. And you think, well, what is going to happen in other parts of the world where it's already that now? And I think that young people are starting to be aware, and that's all benefits our cause. So I do focus on the environment a lot now. My husband was right, of course. You have to think about how it works for the person, what their interest is. And of course, isn't everyone interested in their own survival? So when I meet mums with young children, I say, surely you want a future for your children, don't you? That's why you've brought children into the world. And I do find that they listen more than they used to do. Let's hope we can sort it in time.
Definitely. And I love what you're saying. I mean, because a lot of people, so in the We Did It health group or plant-based, but when I met them, a lot of them say, you know, I did this for my health, and then I began to realize what it was doing to the animals, right? And so, like, I know, I mean, I have a few good friends now that say, well, I wasn't vegan, I was plant-based, but you know, now I call myself a vegan because the awareness, right? Yeah, so we learn about these different areas, you know, and that's what we've got to do. I mean, we've got to educate ourselves in all the areas. And so we're not saying, you know, that this one area is more important. However we can get there, like with your husband, however he gets there as a stepping stone, right? And then, building awareness in all areas, because, I mean, everything is connected.
Yeah.
In the big picture, right? So,
we have someone in the UK called George Monbiot. Has his name reached the US yet or not? No,
I don't know. Has anybody heard of him? I haven't, but
actually, I used to live next door to him, so probably I kind of noticed more than anyone else. But when I went into the bookstore today, and there's only 2 vegan books on the shelf, and one is by the Ed Winter's Vegan Propaganda, and the other one is Regenesis by George Monbiot. Now, he's been an environmentalist all his life, to the core, absolutely. He told me off about my light shining on the owls when I first moved into my house. He came round at midnight and said, "Turn your lights off, you're frightening the owls away." So I've known that he's a true environmentalist for forever. And he only came to veganism quite recently. But he joined all the dots, and it made sense. He cares about the natural world. He cares about the animals. So just to save the wildlife, you have to be vegan, because it's because of the animal agriculture that we don't have the land space for the wild animals as well. And he's got a great book that perhaps appeals to people that are on the journey, because he talks more about the environment. So it's very helpful to know all these resources, so that when you speak to someone, you know which book to recommend, which video to recommend, what button to press on them.
Definitely. And post that later at the end of the comments afterwards, because I want to know about where we can find his book and his name and everything, where we can find him, and everything you want to post, because this is important information. And I'm looking at the comments, and someone saying, I agree, whatever reason people have to eat plant-based is fine as long as they don't revert. And that's one thing that what we were learning about in the summit the other day, is that people do revert. I mean, sometimes they fall back and fall down, just like, let's just say I was trying to lose 50 pounds, right? Then, I mean, falling down and getting back up is part of it. So,
Yeah.
Being supportive, right?
Yeah.
It's really important. We don't want them to revert either. So
Yeah.
being there for them is key. And then if they do go back, say, how can I support you? And, on the journey, right? And I've fallen down too. Acknowledge it, right? It's been hard for me and I slipped up, right? And so I know what it's like. So, yeah. So, but no, I wish everybody would just go straight and never turn back. Believe me. But we have to be aware, right? That it can happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For me, once you've made the animal connection, I couldn't go back. I couldn't. Once I'd watched Dominion. Dominion is a popular film in the US, isn't it, as well? Would that be your main?
I haven't seen it,
your main go-to animal. I don't know how you watch Dominion and eat an animal again, because it's such a shock, which I guess I never recover from.
No, it's hard, and that's traumatizing. We're traumatized, and I do want to say this. There are a lot of people that feel like they have to keep watching them because, they feel like I don't want to say punish themselves, but because the animals are suffering, they should suffer too. And that's really, it's not helping. We need to stay strong. Once we know what happens, then let's know it and step away, right?
You have to. There's the phrase, you have to have your own oxygen mask on. Unless you've got your oxygen mask on, you can't help other people. So I can't go back and watch again. But I know of people that are in the activism movement where they go to a slaughterhouse and they need to go to a slaughterhouse again and they need to go again. No, it's you've got the information. The important thing that doesn't help the animals. The important thing that helps the animals is that you teach you lead other people to what you know as well, so that they don't eat animals either.
Right, definitely. We want, yes, once we get educated, then get out there and do the best. Like you're saying, you're exploring, what's the best way to, be an activist. Maybe it's this way, maybe it's that way. For me, I can't go on the street and do that. Stand there with the videos and everything. I can't do it. I do other things. I've done protests, like circus protests, zoo protests. I protested the aquarium and fur protests. I can do that. So everybody makes a decision for themselves. How can you help? Maybe you can't even do that. Maybe what your job is to write the officials. Maybe you're in there writing and working with the laws. That might be where you can do it. That's in a different, farther aside, but you're still making a huge impact. So
and that's what my husband does. Actually, he's very different from me, and he's always been interested in politics, and he writes letters to politicians. He's very good at the written word, so he writes amazing letters, and he has had meetings with influential politicians because he writes so well. And sometimes on Facebook I will put up a suggested letter for people to send to their MPs, because people want to do it but they don't know how to do it, or they feel intimidated by politicians. So he does a lot of work with that, and we have Animal Rebellion that work a lot in that as well. And I don't know if you have this, but we have, if we do have a vegan politician, which we don't have anyone at the top, but or anywhere near the top, but we had a local MP that was vegan, and he brought veganism into council meetings, into local area meetings. So now in Oxfordshire, and I think it's now in, Cambridgeshire as well, and an area in London where they only have vegan meals. If they have any council meetings, they have to be vegan. And they brought vegan meals into schools 2 days a week. So 2 days a week, the food has to be vegan. And we have 2 schools that are totally vegan in the country now. they're fee paying schools, obviously, because the state's not going to take that on board yet. But we have two schools, and they're really popular, and it's very successful. And we're trying to bring it into health service as well, vegan, because what a great message to send to people, that you go to hospital and you eat healthy vegan food, which encourages them hopefully to go home and eat vegan food when they got home, because one of the reasons they're probably in hospital could be because they're not eating vegan food.
Yeah, I mean, we're at McDonald's over here in our hospitals. I mean, it's crazy.
McDonald's.
Yeah, it's terrible. Someone was saying that the other day. Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, that's the reason they're in the hospital. I mean, because of this junk, right? I mean, we stepped away from. I loved, what John McDougall said the other day when we were watching that summit about traditional diet, right? He said he doesn't use the word vegan, but traditional diet. And I thought that was a really nice way to put it, so nobody, the diet of our ancestors, right? So, yeah, definitely. But so I was looking at this comment. It's easy to see how interconnected our world is. Once we start looking at specific issues like veganism, we can see the connections by following different authors on the topic. The other side of the coin is that if we're connected to a non-life affirming group of people, we can find ourselves finding those points of view being amplified.
Yes, that that whatever the group, the mass attitude is, you stick to it. And I think that's a problem with young people, that they have to be, which my children will say, you can't be vegan because you've got to be socially acceptable, and we all want to go out for a meal together, and I can't be seen to be eating rabbit food when all my real men eat meat. And I try to understand that but I can't understand that, because I would have thought young people should be the people that want to break tradition. When I was young, I remember having the first curry, because we didn't have food from other countries, and I was really proud that I had a curry that my parents wouldn't have dreamt of eating, and that I smelt the kitchen out cooking this Vesta curry. I was so proud and excited that I was breaking from family tradition. And I suppose that's what I want the young people to do now, is break away from those traditions and be trendy, be fashionable, and I think it is becoming more fashionable. And we do have more and more, I guess you do too, more and more restaurants that are opening that are that appeal to pre-vegans as well, because obviously they're the people we want in the restaurants, because they're we're vegans, so yes, it's nice that we're catered for, but we need the pre-vegans to come and eat the food and see how nice it is. So I mean, we now have Michelin star vegan restaurants, which I guess you do too, which is that's just great, because if the top chefs can cook great vegan food, then that's an inspiration to us all.
Yeah, it is. And what I've learned is, if I go into a restaurant and I don't see anything vegan on the menu, and if it's a nice restaurant, people will accommodate. The chef will like to do. I mean, like, chefs like a challenge, and I've had them make a beautiful little portobello steak for me, right? When there wasn't anything on the menu, or went to Olive Garden, I guess, and I was wanting a pasta with vegetables. Oh my gosh, I'd never seen such a beautiful one. It had like the whole garden of vegetables on top. And that wasn't on the menu either, but they really went out of their way. So I thought, wow, I told them what I needed, and they accommodated. So not to be intimidated. If it's not on the menu, just ask. I mean, ask, of course, in a nice way. This is my diet, and what can you do for me here, right? I mean, not like people get angry, like, why is there nothing on the menu? Like, that's the wrong way to do it, because who knows what's going to happen. So we got to do it and present in a nice way. So
and to encourage people as well. I think I've had conversations with quite a few chefs about this, that sometimes they do the vegan menu separately, and you can go in and ask for the vegan menu, so you don't have to see all the other descriptions of animal parts. But actually, it's better if it's in the main menu, and then people accidentally choose the vegan options, and that's introducing them to vegan food, because if it has the word vegan on, sometimes they don't like it just because it says it's vegan, and they're not prepared to taste it. So I think it's great when it's included in the menu. And yes, I do think we have to, much as I'd like to just hide away in vegan restaurants just by myself and only eat with other vegans, I think it's really important that we do eat in restaurants where the animals are served, because that's the only way we can influence. You have to be amongst people to influence them in a positive way.
I mean, that's where I do much of my influencing, is with my friends, bringing my own food, or if we're going out, like I'll bring it. They always want to try it and they always like it. So yeah. And they're always curious. Their curiosity is always piqued when I'm ordering. Well, what are you going to order? And it's new, because it's new.
Or I'll take, if I go to someone else's house, I might take some vegan food with me. And I went to a drinks party recently, and I knew that there'd be an issue, so I just took 3 different types of canapes, and everybody wanted to taste them, and I was amazed how engaging people were. And we've just moved into a new area, and I was a bit nervous how I would be received without them knowing me. But people have come up to me since and said, "Oh, I'm really interested in this veganism. Maybe we could have a chat about it." And either the world's changing or I'm becoming much gentler. I don't know, or maybe it's some and some. But you have to create you're right, you have to create the engagement. So, if I say I've made these with vegan feta cheese and tomatoes and basil and the people are amazed that you can have feta cheese that tastes just like the feta cheese that they've had. So that food is a great way of getting engagement.
Definitely.
As long as you don't intimidate. I think sometimes, because if I cook things too well, or if I try to talk Satan or complicated things, complicated recipes, people are going to say, "Oh, it's all too complicated," or, "Oh, I can't invite you back," and "Oh no," whereas you actually want them to invite you back, not because you need to be invited back, but because you want them to have a go at making some vegan food for you, so that they realize it's just food. It's just, it's just the same. It's just basically the same as make a paella. It's just the same. Make a chili. It's just the same. It's just 1 or 2 ingredients slightly different.
Right. And you can take a recipe now and you can veganize it pretty easily compared to before.
Yeah. And there is this issue with the vegan processed food and the fake meats, and I think that's a difficult area, because often I'll be criticised for, "Oh, you vegans, you create more packaging on the planet from all your," because they think we live on processed foods, and you're not healthy, and you're just the same. A vegan plant burger is just the same as an animal one. Well, actually, maybe it's not if I make it myself and avoid the processed food, and it's healthier. So I think I'm quite keen to suggest whole food plant-based rather than just say plant-based, because I think while you're doing it, make them healthy. Don't just send them onto a vegan pizza and a vegan burger. And vegan chicken nuggets.
If they have to start off that way, that's fine. But incorporate back to the traditional diet of the earth and the living foods, right? I'm sure I understand people wanting to eat a Impossible or Beyond, whatever, every now and then or whatever. I mean, but
I do understand that that's easy. It's easy for the transition, but I do feel really sad about the diet of a lot of our children. My daughter's getting married shortly and having a vegan wedding, and for me, even though she's not totally vegan, so 100 people will all be served vegan meal, but she said the children, she's got a couple of 12-year-olds, and she said, "Oh, they won't eat the vegan food." And I said, "Well, what do they eat?" And they eat chicken nuggets and they eat burgers, and so they're having vegan chicken nuggets instead. And I don't want them to have that, really. I want them to have I want them to be introduced to healthy foods that are vegan. But we have many mountains to climb.
I know, you're right. We got to start off slowly, right? And then inch our way up. But yeah, I know. Well, I was looking at this other comment talking about our social media selects content that's related to our browsing history. I know social media can become a kind of echo chamber in which we find our own views being reinforced. Yes. I mean, the power of social media. I mean, and that's very interesting. I mean, because I try to avoid, I mean, I feel like getting into the arguments online are just it's not a good place to debate, right? I think that you're really not making connections. Go ahead.
I think it can be very destructive for a lot of people. If you're struggling, as I have struggled throughout my 5 years, you turn to Facebook again for your friends because, well, obviously I lost most of my non-vegan friends because I was too pushy when I started, and so then you make your Facebook full of friends that have similar views, and you post and they post, and it all reinforces it, and it's quite depressing. Just seeing pictures of abused animal after abused animal after abused animal, and obviously Facebook feeds itself, doesn't it? Because once you or Instagram, once you've watched something, you get more and more of that post. And I think it could be very easy to spiral into depression with it and not interact with society. But social media is an issue generally, isn't it, for young people and their esteem, and it needs using very carefully. And I think I always said I use it for my activism, and if you looked on my Facebook, it's horrendous because there's just pictures of abused animals, and I'm trying to back away from it. And I think it's important that I pass this message on, that I give this information on the environmental impact of dairy cows or something. But actually it's been said and it's been said and it's been said, and people stop looking at your posts because you post too many of the same thing. So it would be better to do it less, better for your health, and also better for your whatever you're trying to do on Facebook if you did it less often, I think.
Yes, I know what you mean. You're right. I mean,
we're not going to get away with from Facebook and Instagram and all the other things that I don't understand because I'm too old. Because it is, and it can be very empowering. It's a way of education as well. So it's a great way of transmitting information if we use it properly.
Yeah, that's the key. If we use it properly, and then to pay attention to what's working, right? I mean, are my friends still here, or have I lost them?
Yeah.
So just being aware, right? Are people becoming? If I'm making those posts, who's coming to want to hear more, right? So it's being very aware of what are the posts? What are they? What's the result of posting these things? And what result am I getting from here? Looking at it in a different light. So yeah. But
we never get positive feedback from shocking posts. We just don't. We just get affirmation from our vegan friends that yes, it's horrible. Yes, it's horrible. How do we cope? It doesn't help any of us. So we have to be gentle. That's what we all have to do. So a nice little subtle message that someone could add to would be much more empowering.
Yes, definitely. Don't hate us, everybody. But it's true. Don't hate us. Yeah. Be gentle. Be gentle to us, please.
What's to say? Well, one thing that makes being vegan much easier is to simply share that you're eating vegan food for your health. Yes. Which is the lesson I've had to learn. I come from an animal rights activist background, but you have to. It's really important that people learn that the food is healthy. It's saving the planet, maybe, and however people come to it, and it's scary. Nobody wants to have the finger pointed at them, and I know through bitter experience that you can't sit on people and make them vegan. You have to you have to engage with them, and you have to encourage and support. and educate.
One little step at a time, right? Yeah. And here's another great comment. We're getting all sorts of great comments. As they see you becoming more healthy and active, they will see that your choices are having an obvious positive effect on your life. Then they're much more likely to look into becoming vegan for their own well-being. Yes. And I was talking to another friend of mine also, and he said that the way he became vegan was he saw someone just like so radiant, and he said, what is going on? I want to be like you, and so that was the power of example, leading by example. That energy.
You have to present yourself as a happy healthy vegan, and then people want some of that. They think I want to be like that. I want to. If you're not a good role model, why would anyone want to listen to you? Why would anyone want to follow your lifestyle? And I do notice in my 5 years, I notice a difference in my health. I noticed a complete difference in my skin. I used to have really dry skin, and I never need moisturizer now at all. I make my own that I use occasionally, so that I know that it's cruelty free. But my hair has changed. I used to look like Wurzel Gummidge, and I just thought that's what happens. That's what happens when you get to a certain age. You just look like Wurzel Gummidge. But it's totally changed. My hair has totally changed. My skin's totally changed. Yes, I've always been quite sporty, but I'm a vegan runner, which I think that's why I think the Vegan Runners is really good. We've got a guy in the UK who's he's in his 90s, and he runs triathlons and does all sorts of 100-mile runs, and he wears his Vegan Runners shirt, and that's fantastic advertising. Who wouldn't want to be running at 98?
I want to
be on
that shirt.
And you can.
That is amazing.
And the other thing that I'd like to mention is because I have dogs as well, which I struggled with how you deal with dogs, and I've lived with dogs all my life, and having vegan dogs, I found that quite empowering. People might say it's pushy vegan, but whenever I go for a walk, which I do several times a day, people always come up to me and say, "Oh, what gorgeous dogs!" and "What's the names?" and etc. And I think because I've got 3 as well, so people are more interested. And then I'll tell them their names, and we'll start talking, and I'll say, "Oh, and by the way, they're vegan." Really? So I do find myself handing my cards out sometimes on my dog walks, because I've started with the dogs. So I keep threatening to put little banners on them to say I'm a vegan dog, but I think that might be a bit too extreme. but it's a gentle way to introduce it. And of course, the amount of dog food we feed, dogs have become more and more popular after the pandemic. I read an article once that said, but don't quote me because I can't remember where it was from, that said that 45% of the animals we feed are to pet dogs. I mean, I certainly know that the dairy industry cows go into dog food, and I know that the rubbish from the factory floors, the chicken factories go into dogs. And we have a vegan vet in the UK. I don't know if you have vegan vets.
Yes, we do.
The US. And she's doing a great job of converting people to vegan dog food, which has now officially been there was a research just published that said that officially the vegan diet is the healthiest diet for the dog.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And getting the word out is the way to do it. So I'm excited about all this. I mean, everything you're telling me, and really people are loving it. So well, I know we got to wrap this up here. We could talk all day, but
I talk all day.
I want to thank everybody for watching, but I want everybody to know where they can get a hold of you. And I want to make sure that someone actually, I think, did post about the book, Regenesis. I can't speak. Yeah, Regenesis. So they did post a link. Thank you. And but tell everybody where they can find you, Susan. You're on Facebook, and where else if they want to get a hold of you?
Yes, I don't have any of your fancy things. I'm on Facebook, so you can find me through Facebook. I think I'm happy to give my email if you would like my email. which is
go ahead if you want.
It's Susan H hotel 2424 @gmail.com. Obviously, I'd love to. I sort of live and breathe this, and do talks and do teaching, and so I'm constantly learning, and I want to share what I'm learning with other people, and I'd love to help anyone that I could with any aspect. So please, contact me or tell me something, or tell me what I'm doing wrong, or give me some information, teach me something would be great. Communicate.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Susan, before we tell these people?
No, just thank you for allowing me to ramble on for so long.
Oh, well, that's great wisdom, you know. And then we'll post your email in the comments. And I'm very thankful for all this learning experience. You're an educator, and you educated us. And thank you for everybody that's watching, and reach out to us. And we'll sleep on this and see, our brains process all this information during the night and see what appears. I mean, all the newness that we've learned is going to.
I mean, I'd love to learn things from the US as well. I do think this is a global movement, and the more we work together, the more effective we are. Teamwork makes the dream work. So
right.
We should share everything globally.
Definitely. You in the UK, and I'm in Atlanta, the US. And then thank you, whoever's saying thank you, wherever you are. I'm glad you could make it to everybody that's watching. But together is how we become powerful, right? And we get up and we say thanks and we know that we're all doing on this journey and making an impact. So thank you, Susan. Thanks, everyone. And
thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.